أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. This afternoon we merely have one hadith to share with you all that we hope to unpack somewhat. A hadith that we believe is known to everyone that is present. It is only a matter of understanding and application and wisdom. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he states, "Ad-deenun nasiha." The deen, it is nasiha. And in this expression of his here, it is as though the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying the entire of the deen is nasiha. Meaning that nasiha is so important. It is as though it is the entire of the deen. So in order to bring this into proper context, to see it from its proper lens, we need to understand what is deen, and then what is this nasiha that is being said to be all of the deen. People translate deen as religion. Others that are more new world, they'll say a way of life. Deen, it is a shara' ilahi يلقى عن طريق الوحي. Deen, this word that we loosely translate as religion, it is divine legislation that has reached us from the route of revelation. That's what deen is. And when you understand it in that context, it becomes broader than the Webster Dictionary definition of religion. So that's deen. So what is this nasiha that is being said to be all of the deen? Well then, you see, nasiha that we translate as advice, sincerity, sometimes sincere advice, and we'll tie that all together shortly. And nasiha, it is a statement, but that statement is an invitation. So what are we inviting to in this invitation? You are inviting one to betterment and advancement or abstention from corruption. That's nasiha. We'll raise you one. Nasiha, it is a comprehensive term. And in its comprehension, the one that is doing the advising intends good for the one that is being advised, either by way of statement or by way of action. What are we saying thus far? Advice isn't just telling someone something because you feel like telling them something. Advice isn't about making yourself look good. Advice, nasiha, is not about making yourself look right or look prominent. It's not about getting brownie points from people in the creation. That's not really what it's about. The person that you're advising, you in your heart, you want good for that person in this life and the hereafter. It becomes about them more so than yourself. And in that, you are offering that as an act of worship to Allah for Him to accept from you. And you may do this verbally, but it's not limited to that. You may offer others direction by way of your own actions without you saying something to them directly. It happens that way too. Sometimes that may be the better route. The Prophet ﷺ, he has stated, "Min samata naja," whoever is silent, this person will achieve salvation. Sometimes that is the road to take. Sometimes the route of speaking is the road to take. But we have to be in the mindset to understand that there are different routes and apply the best route to the situation for that person's betterment. To remove that person away from corruption and evil and wickedness, or a group of people. Further, when you look at the root of the word nasiha linguistically, and we won't go too far into linguistics, you find something interesting. You find that it means to remove all residue and debris from a thing so that only purity remains in that thing. That's what's meant to be happening when we are giving nasiha. And that's where advice, that translation, connects to ikhlas, connects to sincerity. Because the one that you are advising, you don't want your brother or your sister or your people to be sullied. So you see some residue, you see some debris, so you're trying to do whatever you can do to remove it from him or her or them. That's what you're doing. So when you get into that space, you realize something. لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. None of you will have iman. You won't truly enter into spirituality until you love for your brother or your sister that what you love for yourself. You see, you want to be clean. You want to be pure. You don't want any dirt. Even if you got dirt, you don't want people to know it. So if you're like that with yourself, you're supposed to want that for other than yourself if you have iman. If you believe in Allah in the last day, then you're in that space in your spirituality. If you're not in that space in your spirituality, then we would suggest some self-retrospection and introspection. So once you understand nasiha in this context, then you can understand its value. You can understand why the Prophet ﷺ is saying that the deen as an independent entity is nasiha. Because if we were practicing nasiha in this fashion, you would improve me, and I would improve you, and you would improve other than yourself, and I would improve other than myself, until all of us are pristine as a cohesive unit. And we come into the proper brotherhood, the proper fellowship, the proper sisterhood that our Lord has intended for us in the verse. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Hold on, all of you together, to the rope of Allah, to the Quran, to the Sunnah, to the orthodoxy of the faith. And don't be divided. Do not be divided like those that they are not striving to adhere to Quran in their lives, to Sunnah in their lives, to the orthodoxy of the faith in their lives. Don't be like those people. Be like the people that are holding on to the rope of Allah. So this is nasiha. In a narration, the Prophet ﷺ repeated himself thrice over. Ad-deenun nasiha, ad-deenun nasiha, ad-deenun nasiha. The deen is nasiha. The religion is nasiha. The deen is giving sincere advice. But only if we could truly enter into that space, perhaps we would have forward movement. Perhaps we would actually have advancement. فَأَقُولُ قَوْلِي هَذَا. So I say these words of mine. وَأَسْتَغْفِرُ اللَّهَ لِي وَلَكُمْ. And I see forget it to myself as well as for you all. فَاسْتَغْفِرُوهُ. So seek His forgiveness. إِنَّهُ هُوَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Certainly He is oft forgiving, most merciful. الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده إما بعد. So if we're understanding this well, just to kind of briefly recap and reiterate, then we understand that nasiha is not about your emotional tangent. Nasiha is not about the axe that you have to grind. It's not for that. And Islam is not meant to be a tool that you utilize for your own personal agenda and self-benefit in that type of way. Ikhlas, sincerity, well, that is iradatullahi ta'ala bi ta'atihi. It is to intend Allah the Exalted through acts of obedience, not utilizing acts of obedience to intend yourself. Nasiha is so important that it's actually a right that a Muslim has over another Muslim. If that Muslim comes to you seeking it, and you have competency in what they're asking you about, it's their right that you give it to them. And this is from the rights of fellowship and brotherhood. In that nasiha, you don't oppress people. You don't lie to people, forsake people, abandon them, leave them in a bad way, and you know they're in a bad way, you just have to keep going in a bad way. Nasiha, you're not belittling people, taking away from their value. That's not what this thing here is really about. So the companions understood everything that we just said. So they then asked a very intelligent question. Qulna liman. So then we said, to who? We know what nasiha is. Who are we supposed to be giving this nasiha to? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam answers and states, Lillahi wa li kitabihi wa li rasulihi wa li a'immatil muslimin wa ammatihi. You give this nasiha to Allah, to His book, to His messenger, to the leaders of the Muslims, and to the wider general populace of the Muslims. No one's excluded from it. So we understand what nasiha is, but then how do you give nasiha to Allah? What's that about? Well, we have to go back to our understanding of what nasiha is, and understanding that there is sincerity that enters into nasiha. So then you give nasiha to Allah by being sincere to Allah in the rights that Allah has over you as a person, in your individual relationship with your Lord. So then you are cognizant of the commandments that your Lord has put in front of you, of the prohibitions that He has requested that you abstain from. You are conscious of the boundaries and the limits that He has set. You know who your Lord is because you have taken the time to explore His names and attributes. So you can have some idea of who your Lord is, so that you can build a relationship with your Lord. How can you build a relationship with someone that you don't know? How can you love someone that you don't know? Please explain to me how that is possible. You claim to love your Lord, but you know nothing about Him. You claim to love your Lord, but you don't know how to build a relationship with Him. You claim to love your Lord, but you then just easily neglect what He loves. You just easily enter into what He's displeased with. So this is how one gives nasiha to Allah. Likewise, the book, meaning the Quran. You fulfill the rights that the Quran has over you. So you build a relationship with the Quran. You read it when you have the time. Maybe you memorize portions of it or some of it, more of it, every person in accordance with their ability. But more important than all of that is getting into the space that Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, describes that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was within his relationship with the Quran. كَانَ خُلُقُهُ الْقُرْآنِ. His character was the Quran. Why? He had a relationship with it. You see, it wasn't about just showing people things you know, or you can recite this or you can quote that just because. So now you are so fabulous because you are more intelligent than somebody else. So you think. No. You are going through the Quran and you are looking for what applies to yourself. You are looking for ways to evolve yourself into the best version of yourself. You are striving to enter into and continue within the purpose of your life. The primary purpose. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونِ. I have not created jinn and men except for the express intent of my worship alone. So you give nasiha to the Quran, you're sincere to it. You don't just sit it on your highest shelf and then it collects dust. You don't just leave it wherever it is. Leave it on your phone, and then in Ramadan you wanna rush and try to get through the whole thing, and it's good to do that in Ramadan. But Ramadan is the time period where we are meant to be increasing upon the foundation that we built all year. That's not meant to be your starting point, and then your stopping point at the end of the month until the next year. Give nasiha to the Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And some of this we've already explained. Do you really know who your messenger is? Like, what do you really know about him? What do you know about his life? You say Sunnah, you say Sunni, you say Ahlul Sunnah, you say Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, you say these. But how are you using the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as an example to fulfill your purpose in life? To become a better human being, to become the best human being that you can be. How are you doing that without Quran? How are you doing that without spending some time with the hadith of the Prophet? Even if you're just reading it on some daily basis, hadith or 2 or 5 or 10, there's some hadith that are long, but most of them are short, just a couple sentences. Where are you in that space, and then applying that to your life? Try it. Some of us, we're in the space of, that is just a sunnah. Meaning, I don't really have to do that. I don't really feel like doing that, so I'm not. You see? What do you know about his life? Really? What do you know about what he actually did? Describe an average day of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to yourself. Can you do that? So if you cannot describe an average day of his to yourself accurately, premise upon knowledge, then how are you emulating him in your daily life? How? Or are we just talking and claiming things and just making ourselves feel good just because we have a beard and our sister put on a scarf and might wear a little thobe and whatever we're doing, and then that's enough. And then you go on about your life, and then we wonder why we have some of the situations that we have, and we get to where we are. The leaders of the Muslims, in whatever capacity they are in, it may be world government, it may be national, it may go all the way down to the man in his home as the imam of his household. And we hope you all are imams of your households. And everywhere in between that, every individual that has any level of authority, then we advise, we give nasiha to that person in the level of authority that they have. And if you're looking for the good and you're looking to be effective, then more often than not, if you want good, then you're going to actually take the person in private, or allow some message to reach them in some private fashion. You have a myriad of different avenues to reach somebody privately today. And you're going to offer your thoughts. You're going to do something or act in a way that is actually beneficial to that person or those people, if it's nasiha. And if it is accurate and the person accepts, then alhamdulillah. And if the person does not, then you have fulfilled the right that that person has over you in front of Allah. You're absolved on the day of resurrection. The general populace of the Muslims, we all have this right over one another. Do you not want to see your brothers and sisters go to paradise? Like, think about that within yourself. When you see the Muslim and you say Assalamu alaikum, you say that. May peace be bestowed upon you. May deficiency and faults may they be removed from you, because that's what that means. Are you thinking about that person going to paradise and how you can assist them in doing and reaching that goal? Or is it just hi, bye, and what's up? This space, everyone has this right. Every Muslim over another Muslim. Nasiha. If we did, we would be much better. If we did, we will be moving where we need to go. So then, I humble myself before you all today as we come closer to a close. And I'm going to ask you for nasiha. And I'm going to say some things that may be a little uncomfortable, but they're real. So, the drug problem that you have, advise us how we can help you with that. The heroin and the crack and the whatever else it is. How can we help you? Tell us how we get you out of that. The alcohol. Being a drunkard. You know these things, these addictions are considered diseases now. How can we help you with that? What do we have to do? You're involved in all forms of illicit relationships, and you carry it so lightly. How do we help you with fornication? Advise us. How do we assist you with adultery? Advise us. What do we have to do so that by the time you come to us and you want to get married, you haven't already been with and through the person for we don't know how long before you come to us to get married? And then you come to us with problems and you want us to fix your problems. But had we approached it correctly, we wouldn't have those problems that you're bringing to us. And we don't need to say the details. You guys know the examples. Some of us have lived those examples. Advise us how to help you to get you out of that space. Some of us have issues beyond that. And these are things that are real that we try not to talk about. Sometimes the issue isn't just man and woman. Sometimes it's woman and woman. Sometimes it's man and man. How do we help you with that? These are real things that occur. You haven't been praying like the way you're supposed to pray. Some people, right now, in a few minutes from now, is going to be the only time you pray for the rest of the week until you come back next Friday. How do we help you to get out of that space? The bad blood and the bickering that you've had with this person and that group in the past 10 and 15 and 20 years, and just carrying on the bad blood, and then new people coming and you just treat the new people like the old people because you still have those same psychological barriers. You can't even understand and receive change. How do we help you get past that? These things. So you're not working. You need a job. You need a better job. You need education. You need better education, religiously and secularly. How do we help you with that? This is the space that we all need to get in. Your kids, the kids that aren't with you right now, and most of you all have kids and they're not here, where are they at? And what are they doing? Not it's 10 o'clock and do you know where your children are? No, it's 1 o'clock p.m. on Friday. Do you know where your children are? How do we help you with that? If we get into that space, then all of this stuff here that you see all around you in this historical building that we're in, because it is a historical site, it won't be like this anymore. Because if you fix yourself and you make yourself beautiful, then beautiful things will come out of yourself. You will produce beautiful things. And everything around us will begin to look beautiful. If we see ugliness around us as a constant, maybe that is indicative of ugliness that we have within ourselves. I'm just being real with you. Wa aqimus salat.